An abusive man doesn't just hurt you, he actually assigns you roles. And that's the part that so many women miss when they're in the relationship. You think you're just trying to keep the relationship together. You're doing what's right. You're trying to communicate better and calm things down and prove that you're good enough and lovable enough, loyal enough, understanding enough, all the things that women do, all the output that we give. But inside this relationship, he's actually trained you into a job, into a role. And women who are trying to step out of these roles are having an incredibly difficult time. You have an emotional role, a social role, a sexual one, a psychological one, and most of them benefit him in ways that you won't even see. You become the scapegoat, the caretaker, the fixer, the trophy, the defendant, the mother, the therapist, the crisis manager, the proof that he's normal and that he's not really a bad guy. You become the person who absorbs all of the consequences so his behavior never has to. And no, they don't get you to play just one role. That would be way too simple. You might be his caretaker in the morning, his scapegoat by lunch, and his emotional punching bag by dinner. You become his sex object at night and his public proof of stability at the family barbecue. Congratulations to all of the women who are playing all of these roles. Patriarchy and the world socialize us to play these roles, and then we find ourselves in a relationship where we're being exploited by an abusive man, and we don't even recognize the roles that we're playing. I'm going to break down the 5 most common toxic roles that abusive men condition women to play, why they're so easy to fall into, how each role very much benefits him, and why this is more often than not incredibly covert. My name is Lisa Sonni. I'm a certified relationship coach, and I'm an expert in toxic and abusive relationships. I've written 5 books, and on this channel, I help women understand what abusive men are doing, how it benefits them, and how it harms us so you can recognize the impact on you, exit and heal from relationships with abusive and toxic men. Now, I'm going to go through the 5 roles, and I'm going to save the most aggravating one for last. But the first is the scapegoat. And this is the one where you are always the problem. You're to blame. He's angry, but it's your fault. He cheated, but it's only because you didn't have sex with him often enough. When he's cold to you, it's because you nagged him in some way. Everything becomes your fault. His drinking, lying, stonewalling, his being argumentative, him coming home angry every day, all of it. It's you. This is one of the primary things that abusive men do is shift the blame to avoid accountability, because we all know how much abusive men hate accountability. They make everything your fault. They use a lot of tactics to do it. Darvo is a really popular one. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender, right? Works every time. Gotta love the gaslighting. This is a man who tells you that you asked him at the wrong time, right? The way that you asked him, you made him feel attacked. You were too emotional. You asked him on the wrong day. You didn't appreciate him enough. You were actually the problem here because you're hard to love. This role is actually really easy to fall into because women are actually trained to self-reflect. There have been studies that actually show that women are far more likely than men to internalize blame, where men are more likely to externalize blame, which basically means men are looking outwardly at what happened, who else did this, and women are socialized to say, what was my role in this? So we're really happy to pick that up. This is actually in many ways a perfect match, perfect for him, of course, because you're wondering what you've done. Women want to be self-reflective and kind and participate in their relationships. We're trained to ask, what did I do wrong? We want to be fair. We want to see both sides. And men like this, they love a woman with a conscience because they don't actually have to do anything. They don't have to take accountability. They don't have to change. The benefit to him is actually incredibly obvious. If you're the problem, he's not accountable. His behavior is never going to be looked at. He doesn't have to change anything. He can keep going, get all of the benefits, and completely blame you. And it keeps you busy trying to be less blameworthy, trying to get it right. But all you're doing is tap dancing along, always wrong, while trying to be right. It's a losing game. You're literally living in a double bind. The next one is the caretaker. I hate this one. I really, really hate this one, okay? You're managing everything. You're managing his moods, the house, his anger, his childhood wounds, his insecurity, his self-esteem, his loneliness, his bad day, his fragile male ego, all of it. And it's ironic because men will often describe themselves as protectors, providers, leaders, alphas, all while you're doing all the work. You're managing things. And I've heard some crazy men refer to this as they're the CEO, they're the leader, and you're the worker bee. So it's actually proof that they're leaders because you're managing everything for them. It's like they literally don't know the definition of the word leader. Don't ever get it twisted. Men denying that you're in this role of caretaker doesn't mean that you're not in it. Men saying that this is your natural right, this is who women are, this is what we're supposed to do, this is the natural order of things, that's insane. If women submitting and being caretakers was natural, men wouldn't have to use all of these manipulative tactics to try to beat us into submission. Women do this so often and frankly so well that so many men barely even recognize it. I want to even give some men, not all men of course, the benefit of the doubt and assume that some don't even recognize that you are changing your tone and picking the right time and avoiding certain topics. I actually watched a video on Instagram recently where a woman was talking about her husband's default was always just no. She would come to him to talk about something and his framework was automatically no. And so she found this little workaround where she would sort of drop hints and say things and sort of talk in circles for weeks or months. Eventually, at some point, he would go, I have this really great idea. And she would be like, great, awesome. That's the workaround. Make it his idea. And her husband the whole time didn't even notice that that's what she was doing. He was literally too stupid to recognize it. Now, in their case, luckily, they've worked on their marriage. He gets those things now, and he actually also makes content and talks about how to be better in relationships. But this is exactly the kind of work that we're talking about. Women are doing these things, and men just act like it doesn't matter or gaslight us and say that it's not actually happening. But I don't know a single woman who hasn't comforted a man after he hurt her. That makes no sense, right? But it's because he plays the victim, right?
You're making me feel like such a bad guy.
And then we have to go, oh, no, it's not that you're a bad guy. Yeah, maybe you're a bad guy. Maybe you are. If you don't want to be treated like a bad guy, don't do the thing. I'm so sick of men acting like I don't want to be called the thing, but I'm happy to do the behavior that makes me the thing. Now, this role of caretaker, we fall into it so easily because it can look like being supportive and empathetic and, you're being a good partner, a good woman, especially for women who've been conditioned to fawn. A lot of this can feel really familiar to a lot of us. And it's a really cute system, but it's actually horrifying because the benefit to him is that he gets emotional regulation, but he never has to be emotionally responsible. You'll always do that for him. And often we're not doing it really to protect him. I think we're doing it to protect ourselves. We want something and we have to use these little paths to get there. We want to feel safe, so we do what we need to feel safe, which includes managing his feelings. And this is just normal, right? This is just what so many women do that it's like, well, how else would this work? God forbid we have a conversation about how men are responsible for themselves. So if a man is having a bad day, he needs to figure out how he can make himself better, change his own mood, deal with himself, sit in the discomfort of his own feelings, manage his own mood so that when he comes home, he doesn't take it out on his family. And I know, right? Men,
Also, I'm not allowed to have a bad day.
Sit down, Brad. Have a seat. Take every seat. Because that is exactly the kind of playing the victim garbage that we're talking about. Because now the woman is supposed to, no, it's not that you're not allowed to have feelings, Brad. Brad needs to figure this out on his own, okay? I say this all the time. Women are not rehabilitation centers for broken men who've not figured this stuff out. Now, the next role is the trophy. This is the one that makes him look good. I'm not talking about the trophy wife necessarily in the sense of you're the beautiful wife. But this role is really sneaky because it's very flattering, right? He's proud to be seen with you because you might be a beautiful woman. You might be a kind woman. You might be intelligent or have charm or social status or a beautiful body, whatever image, right? You might be wealthy. All of these things that women are, and he likes what being chosen by you says about him. He likes the way that he looks. He gets to play the good man, the married man, the family man. He gets to play that role. And we all know, because studies have shown it, not that women needed studies, but we know that men like this benefit. Men who are married make more money than men who are not married. Men get more benefits when they are married, despite the fact that so many men will claim that there are no benefits, and yet men sign up for this all the time. When you are a trophy to a man like this, you are sitting in the trophy case. You're in a cage. You're allowed to shine, absolutely, as long as it reflects well on him. I know for me, I was definitely in a role of trophy. He felt like we were a power couple. So I was successful in my past career, and he loved that I was successful, not because he was proud of me, but because of how it made him look, that a woman like me would want a man like him. You're allowed to be successful when it doesn't threaten his superiority. You're allowed to be beautiful as long as he gets to feel like he owns you. But the minute that your strength protects you, he's going to attack that. The minute your beauty attracts attention, the very thing that he wanted, right? Now he needs to say, why are you wearing makeup to the gym? What are you putting on lip gloss to go to the grocery store? Who are you trying to impress? Suddenly it's a problem. The minute you're successful and that exposes him under functioning, he'll resent it. He'll resent it immediately. Now, this role of being a trophy, it feels like you're being admired, right? Like you're finally being seen and recognized, and it's beautiful. It can be. But in an abusive relationship, it's not about seeing you. It's about what you do for his image. You become the social proof. You make him look stable and desirable and safe. You make him look lovable and normal, right? If a woman like you loves him, well, how bad could he be? This is why we always watch some man do some horrible thing and then everybody goes, wow, I had no idea. He seemed like such a nice guy. He seemed like it because you're part of this. That's the silent benefit. Your presence is like a character reference for an abusive man who now benefits from you kind of co-signing on what a good guy he is. And then they use these tools to get you to not tell people what's really going on in your relationship, right? Don't go slandering your spouse. Don't talk about your relationship with other people. Only tell a therapist, that kind of garbage. So now you're not telling anyone. That's all image management. It is a way for him to manage his reputation, and he's using you. Number 4 is the defendant. And man, do I hate this one. You're always explaining yourself. You're always defending your motives, always explaining something, your tone, why you made a parenting decision, explaining your honesty, explaining why you're putting on lip gloss to go to the grocery store. You're explaining your memory, your perception, your intentions. You defend. You constantly explain and argue and defend. It's exhausting. And we step into this role really easily, right? He questions, you answer. That seems normal in a relationship, but you don't realize how quickly that can become you defending yourself. Obviously, if your spouse asks you a question, you answer it. But when does that cross the line into your spouse is questioning you, interrogating you, accusing you, and you're still answering? You're stepping into his reality by even giving it weight. There are a ton of examples that I could give where you should just stand there and go, I'm not defending myself. But that's when you get to that breaking point. The amount of women that I talk to that feel like they are litigating inside their own relationship, right? The whole relationship is a courtroom and he's the judge. Somehow he's also the jury and the prosecutor. How fair is that? We fall into this because false allegations feel really unbearable to honest women. A man like this, he calls you selfish, right? And now you want to prove that you care. You don't want to be considered controlling, so you want to prove that you're fair. But that often comes through this little like reverse psychology trick, right? He calls you controlling, so you let go of something that's important to you and you give someone freedom that they shouldn't necessarily have in a relationship. People are still autonomous and deserve freedom. Again, don't willfully miss the point. But sometimes when you're in a relationship, timing matters, tasks matter, things have to get done. And it's not controlling for one person to say, can you take the trash out right now? Because you've asked him 9 times already. Or ask him what time he's going to be home. He tells you 20 minutes and he comes home in 6 hours. The amount of women that have that story and then they're called controlling. What do I have, a curfew? What are you, my probation officer? I have a curfew. I have to be home right after work. No, you said you'd be home right after work and then you just disappeared for 6 hours. That's not how married people behave. That's not honest, upfront, transparent. But if he frames it as controlling, you want to defend yourself. You want to not be seen that way in your relationship. And it makes sense. Nobody wants to be seen in a negative way in their relationship. And it's wild because abusive men don't want to be seen as abusive, but they're happy to be abusive as long as you don't actually call them that. This is why they flip it so often, right? He calls you abusive and then you want to prove that you're safe. So you back off and then you reduce your needs and you defend yourself constantly. So what's the benefit, right? Power. A man like this benefits from the power and control that he gets to have over you when you step into his reality and defend yourself. You step inside his frame, right? You're treating his accusations like it actually deserves the trial that he's trying to put you on. And here you are tap dancing, trying to earn innocence from a person who benefits from calling you guilty. It just doesn't make any sense. We become the defendant, and here you are, and his behavior is gone. We're not talking about that anymore. Absolutely not. We're going to make this about you so that you need to defend yourself. That is why this role is so useful. Now, the last role is easily the most beneficial to him. This is the container. This is the woman who holds everything that he refuses to hold. Consequences, chaos, instability, his secrets, his public image, his rage, his excuses, all of it, his entitlement, his sexual entitlement, his lies and mess and contradictions and all of it. You become the place where all of this goes. He offloads it to you happily because it's not his job, it's your job. That's how he sees it. And I want to give you some real life examples to make this really click for you. He's going to create chaos because abusive men really benefit from creating chaos because it gives them power, right? And then you become anxious from his chaos. He lies and you become suspicious. You're holding that. When he stonewalls, pulls away, withholds affection, attention, and you lean into him, he's going to call you needy. And if he pressures you for something, suddenly he's going to say that you're avoidant. Or if he pressures you for sex and then you don't want to give it because of all the pressure and the anger and the way that he's treating you, he's going to say that you're abusive and you're withholding. And then the crazy making thing is that he's going to take what his behavior produced and he's going to go, see, do you see? You're the problem. That's why this role is so dangerous. Because all of a sudden, you start looking like the evidence of his innocence. You're exhausted and defensive, and he stands back all calm, maybe even a little smug. And the room thinks, oh yeah, this is a reasonable guy. Look, she's the one breaking down. That benefits him the most. You carry the impact. He gets to stand there in his perfect image, and we all know how abusive men love to keep their image intact. They want people to see them as good. He wants a good reputation. He wants people to think that he's a good guy, but you're the one holding all of the chaos and standing there being driven crazy. You're the container for everything. I think it's the scariest role because it turns what he's done to you into how you present to the world. And that's why he's usually holding a camera. That's why he's telling people, see, she's crazy. She yelled. She did this. She said that. He drives you to that point and then blames you for being there. Now, I said at the beginning that these roles overlap. And the truth is, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just my top 5. The roles like caretaker and the scapegoat, they go together really, really well. Often women are playing multiple roles. Of all the roles that I mentioned, I would love for people in the comments to say which of these roles they played, and feel free to name more roles too. So many women are like the trophy in public. When you go out and see friends and you socialize, you're the trophy. But when you go home, oh, you're the defendant. Absolutely. You make him look good to everyone else, and then you have to go home and explain to him why you're not a terrible partner, why it's actually him that's terrible, which is never a worthy debate to get into with a man like this. Women like this are wildly confused constantly. Your job keeps changing, but it depends on what he needs from you, right? As long as you just play every role at all times, whenever he needs, whatever he needs, then you're good, right? No, probably not. This just falls into what the world, what the patriarchy expects of women, right? Be soft, be sexual, but don't be too sexual. Be silent, but don't be stonewalling. Be grateful, even though he's giving you crumbs or giving you the flowers you hate that he knows you hate, right? Be impressive, but also apologize for that. Be strong, but don't be too strong. Be independent, but don't be so independent that you don't let him lead. Like, it's just crazy making, right? He's the ringmaster of this entire thing. But why are these roles so easy for women to fall into? Well, conditioning, right? We're already trained to value being loyal and fair and kind and forgiving, desirable, patient, all the things that women are supposed to be, right? You're supposed to be understanding. You're supposed to be the kind of woman that gets chosen by a man, and you're supposed to be able to handle it. That's what a good woman is. Listen to people talk about what a good woman is. In fact, a great dating question is, what do you think is a good woman? Tell me, and then get them to give you examples. Because culture starts this and family starts this, and this happens in childhood and patriarchy in the world. But then this man walks in and you have been perfectly conditioned for a relationship like this. It's just, for men like this, they love it. That's the trap. And the whole thing is so sneaky because a man's not going to come up to you and go, hey, Stacey, I need you to be my scapegoat. Hey, Sarah, I'm going to have to ask that you absorb all of my shame. Thanks. Good job. No, they're never going to say that. They're going to gaslight you and say, you're so sensitive. You know how I get. Why can't you just support me? Oh my God, you're making me feel like a bad guy. You're embarrassing me. You always have to start something, right? You're the reason I'm like this. I just want a woman to be my peace. That is how the roles get assigned, through language and punishment, reward, withdrawal. We know the cycle. This is the cycle of abuse. They use guilt and sex and money and approval. He's training you, but he's not telling you what he's training you for. I'm telling you. And that's why so many men are in my comment sections pissed off and calling me a man hater. Meanwhile, I don't hate men. I do hate abusive men. And if men are conflating men and abusive men, I don't know what to say about that. If the behavior that I describe in men is how a man sees himself, maybe it's because he benefits from me keeping my mouth shut. And I have never been known for being a quiet woman. But the truth is, this is what women need to hear. These roles never make a relationship healthier. They only make an abusive man's life easier. When you caretake him, that does not create intimacy, actual connection and intimacy. It actually removes the need for him to regulate himself. I once had a really interesting conversation with a therapist. Her name was Aisha Grevenberg. It was an episode of my podcast, and she was talking about how she refuses to pity men. And I was so taken aback by what she said, but I absolutely loved it. We act like men are incapable of these things. Don't pity men. Men are capable, right? Men are constantly telling us how they're the most logical and they're not emotional and all these things. It's because they don't know what those words mean. But don't pity a man. Allow him to regulate himself. I have faith in you, Brad. You can totally do this. I believe in you, Kevin. You can do this. All of the roles that these guys put you in are functional for him. And they keep you from leaving him. And that is a huge part of it, okay? They create attachment to the job. You know, when you're at work and it sort of feels like if you were to quit, the whole place would fall apart without you. But meanwhile, like they would probably have your job posted before your obituary hits the newspaper. It's exactly the same in a relationship like this. You feel like the house is going to fall apart, like he needs you. They create this dependency within the relationship when you start to see him almost like a child, right? Like who would take care of him? How would he manage his moods? Who would remind him to take his medicine, if not me? If I stop caretaking, he'll fall apart. If I stop defending myself, he's going to think that I'm putting lip gloss on because I'm going to cheat on him. Bullcrap. I call bullcrap. You can stop absorbing chaos and thinking the family is going to friggin' fall apart. You want to stop being the good woman? Go for it. It doesn't make you a bad woman. Probably makes you a smart woman, in fact. This is how these roles become the cage that I was talking about, because you don't just fear losing him. You're losing your identity. Like what happens when you stop? When you stop performing, what happens? That's why leaving a man like this that's put you in all of these roles feels like you're betraying him, even though it's destroying you to stay. I want you to start asking, what role are you being trained to play? Are you the scapegoat right now? Are you being made responsible for his behavior? Ask yourself, am I defending myself against a false frame? Because you can say that's not true and then put your lip gloss on and go, right? You don't have to defend or take off your lip gloss. You don't have to do any of that. Stop protecting his image at the expense of your truth and your reality. Take a little step back and observe the system because it's right here. Now, when you step out of it, it doesn't actually feel peaceful. Typically, when women step out of these roles, it feels like your whole body has a reaction, okay? He might accuse you more. Often they escalate, they punish more and withdraw more. So I do always want to add, considering I am talking about abuse and domestic violence, not all abusive men will physically harm you, but abuse is something that escalates. We know that about abuse, that it kind of gets worse and worse. And so I don't want women to take risks for their own physical safety by stepping out of these roles in the relationship if it's not safe to do so. So you might need some safety planning, some risk assessment, but fundamentally, see what happens when you step out of these roles. I know it can feel like when you step out of it, you're doing something wrong, and he's going to tell you, oh, trust me, he's going to tell you you're doing something wrong. But when you stop being the defendant, then the accusation itself has nothing, right? Stop being the trophy, and then you're not protecting his image anymore. Well, let's see what happens to his image when you just let his own behavior exist out in the world. You're interrupting a system that benefits him. I want you to expect that system to protest pretty hard. Now, one little trick that you can use to really find your way back to yourself is name the role before you respond. Like in your head, I want to be super clear, okay? Not out loud. There's no benefit because he's just going to go, oh, this is stupid, okay? Don't worry about that. You feel like you're being put into the defendant role. Say that in your mind. Accusation means he's trying to put me in the role of defendant. Got it. I'm not stepping into that role, right? Decide that. Stop explaining, stop apologizing for his reaction, stop covering for him, comforting him, all that stuff. Let his image do its work. Let his image fall apart. If that's what happens, then I guess that's what happens. Abusive men don't only condition women to stay, they condition women how to function in a relationship with him. You want him to look better than he is. And most women are playing multiple roles at the same time. But I'm telling you, once you can start to name the roles and actually label them and have language to say what's actually happening, you will no longer confuse the role with who you are. It no longer is part of your identity. So subscribe if you're not already. And if you want to do this work and really learn and understand this, I have a group coaching program called The Identity Restoration that I co-host with Dr. Peter Salerno. It's a 12-week program with just 8 to 10 women. Please check that out. Or you can work with me one-on-one or join me inside She Rises Collective, which is an online community for women survivors of abuse that I co-host with therapist Shelley Pumphrey. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.